Welcome to the Enduro Method Podcast. Joshua Rempel here today with Dayne and Tony.
Hello.
And we are going to talk about recovery and some ways that you can potentially improve it.
Yeah. So, Josh, what does recovery even mean to you?
I think for me, it kind of means that I'm able to function well throughout my day. I'm able to have enough energy to be able to put quality work behind the things that I'm trying to accomplish. And kind of along with that is basically just not being overcome with stress. And whether that's physical stress or emotional stress or anything, work stress, something like that, if I'm well recovered, I'm going to be able to do things on my calendar and things that I want to do. And I'm going to have, for the most part, a pretty positive mental outlook on it.
I think that was a pretty darn good summary of what being recovered is.
What about for you?
Well, you just set the bar really high. In Dayne's terms, I mean, really, truly, it means what you just said. But I guess in my own terms, it would be just how I feel day to day and whether or not I'm able to do the things I love, whether that be something as dirt biking, training. We have a gym here in Driggs, whether that's coaching classes or coaching clients, like as long as I'm able to do those things and, feel like I'm not falling asleep or, I guess on the dirt bike physical side that my body is primed and ready. But yeah, I think you pretty much said it, but just overall, I feel good. Like how many days go by where you actually sit back and think, hey, I feel pretty darn good. I have no sickness, no ailments. You really only see the opposite end of it when you are sick or hurt. Then you're like, you kind of have more of a tendency to dwell in it or recognize it. And so I think this is going down a crazy rabbit hole, but like appreciate your health, appreciate your recovery. And if you're not being recovered or if you're not getting, a good recovery, I'm going to have to learn my English language too. Then you should maybe think about, implementing some of these things we're about to talk about in this podcast.
Yeah, I do want to make a quick note on the recovery piece because it's very important, and it's very important for longevity and whatever you choose to do to make sure that you're recovering from it and letting your body repair itself mentally and physically. But there's also going to be points in time where, especially like training blocks, or if you're getting ready to do some big adventure, where you're actually putting yourself in a low recovery state intentionally. And so it's not that chronic under recovery is bad. Periods of thought out under recovery can potentially be good, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, you can probably reflect back. I remember you saying when you were training for the CrossFit stuff that you would have some of your best days when you felt the worst.
Yeah. And what that kind of equates to is that I was doing a lot of training 2-a-days consistently for months on end. And so I would wake up, I'd feel tired, I'd feel kind of beat up, I was always sore. But from a gym numbers perspective and timed workout perspective, like CrossFit is, I was performing really well. And it's not that I was in that state year round. I was in that state right before I went to regionals, right? And that was a planned progression up to that point. And it put me in really good shape, albeit, it took a couple weeks afterwards to get back to a point where I felt good again, just physically, just because you're just kind of beat up. So there's times for it, but I think what we're kind of talking about more today is just in general. Mm-hmm. And You're not necessarily getting ready for a race or a season. We're just looking at living life and feeling good, working out. And so the topics or the little things we're going to touch on are kind of things that you can do or work to do throughout the week that will just potentially upgrade your recovery.
Yeah. Yeah, I was going to say, if you are an elite athlete listening to this and you're intrigued by Josh's backstory of periodized training, send us a DM. Anyways, so yeah, number one in our tips plural to improve recovery would be sleep. How about you on that one?
Yeah, trying to be consistent night to night is very important. Everybody varies a little bit in how much you need, but it's pretty generally thought of that 7 to 8 hours is kind of the sweet spot. And when you go significantly below that, there might be some outliers in that picture, but for the most part, you drop below 7 hours per night on average, and you're going to start to see some detrimental effects. And then potentially sleeping over 8 hours isn't really shown to be that advantageous. So prioritizing that 7 to 8 hours average per night can be, I think that's kind of the first place to start is sleep. It's one of the most, if not the most important things for us humans.
Yeah. For me personally, it's one of the things that's pretty much non-negotiable in my regular routine. If I know what time I need to wake up, there's a simple math equation that I know what time I need to be asleep. And usually if I actually feel pretty lucky, I can fall asleep pretty easily. So just knowing I need to be in bed at least a half an hour before that time that I actually need to be sleeping. But yeah, sleep I think is definitely I think nowadays it's becoming more and more popular, but I do think people kind of slough it off. I think it's easy to do because I feel like we're all looking for more hours. We're always looking for that 8th day in a week, that extra day, the extra hour. So it's easy to dive, your work life, your life into your sleep, whatever that may be. I also heard an interesting fact at one point that they had done scans of 2 different brains. One brain was sleep deprived and probably to a severe degree, and the other brain had traumatic brain injuries. And in the scans, they actually showed pretty identical, which is crazy to think that somebody actually suffered a crazy traumatic brain injury and this person just is sleep deprived. So that really shines light on how important sleep is to your cognitive ability, your physical ability, and just probably your whole body as a whole. Your whole body as a whole. But yeah, so sleep is definitely non-negotiable.
Yeah, you can die from no sleep. I'm serious. I mean, we need a fact checker on the show, but I'm pretty sure it was 13 days with no sleep was a world record or something, and somebody died. I'm not sure if that's factually correct on the days, but it is true about the no sleep. So very important. What are some ways that we can increase sleep and increase sleep quality?
One would be reducing your blue light exposure. I don't know. This one I'm iffy because I sleep really well, but I do have clients and friends that swear by blue blockers and stuff. So I think if you're somebody that struggles with sleep, turning your phone or putting blue blockers on or getting the screens out of your face 1 to 2 hours before bed can help improve your sleep.
Yeah, and on the flip side of that, increasing light exposure earlier in the day. So getting out in the sunshine upon waking or shortly after waking really helps kind of reset the circadian rhythm, and sets you up for kind of that melatonin release later in the evening. So get out in the sunlight. The more sunlight on your skin, the better. And with that, not wearing sunglasses when you're out there. So letting...
What?
Yeah. Because the sun, it'd be
eyes are
essentially
burning.
like doing blue blockers, but in the morning you want the sun exposure because it's
Jeez.
helping to reset circadian rhythm.
Everyone listening, this is going to go burn their eyes.
Well, don't stare at the sun, just don't wear sunglasses. And then in the evening, you don't want the sunlight because the sunlight's telling you to stay awake. I got stuff to do. And so you actually want to block that out, and that helps tell you it's time to shut it down. So another one would be no caffeine after noon. And that might even push a little bit late. I try and stop drinking coffee at noon. But I could probably do with less caffeine and coffee anyways. Noon's actually like probably pretty late for most people. But, I try not to go past noon. There's definitely something to say for different people's half-life, like how the caffeine affects you. Some people, it stays, even like 1 cup of coffee will stay in your system for a couple days. Other people process it really well and efficiently and quickly. So that's something to kind of pay attention to. Reducing long naps later in the day. I know for me, I am a disaster if I take a nap because I need 2 hours. If I go to take a nap, it's 2 hours or nothing. Like if I sleep for a half hour and get up, I'm worse off for the rest of the day, and I can't sleep at night.
Bummer.
Yeah. So some people swear by like the 15-minute power nap, 20-minute power nap.
I had a professor in college mention that over 30 minutes of a nap is actually more detrimental and less productive than I remember 20 minutes. She was basically like 20-minute nap is where it's at. Anything above, you kind of tap into where you get more groggy.
Yeah.
I've totally done that driving where I've been like falling asleep, pull over, set my alarm for 20 minutes, boom, wake up, there I am, ready to go again. But yeah. Another major one is alcohol. I think this one can kind of slip under the rug a little bit, but that definitely affects your sleep and your sleep quality. I know for myself, sometimes depending on the amount of alcohol, but I've caught myself waking up to a higher heart rate than normal, correlating that with the amount of alcohol I've drank. Well, having a hard time today. But anyways, alcohol. Bedroom temperature is another one. Making sure you're not... if you can control your bedroom temperature, that is to your advantage.
Yeah, it definitely helps to have the cooler, be on the cooler side for that.
Right. They even make things like the chili pad nowadays, which I
Yeah.
think is like a mattress pad that is... You can set the temperature on it.
Yeah, they look pretty sweet.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely a cooler temperature room helps sleep. Having consistent sleep and wake times also will help, and that's something that maybe takes a little bit longer for that to kick in, but eventually if you're able to get up at relatively close consistent time in the morning, go to sleep, it just kind of helps your body get that programmed in. One more thing, last one for us here would just be daily exercise. It's going to really help over the long term.
Yep.
So, all right, next one.
Second category. So after you've improved your sleep, you're going to want to add in some active recovery.
Yeah, and I would say after sleep, these aren't necessarily in order, but sleep, at least for me, would definitely be at the top of the list of first item to really look at.
Yeah, I agree.
One more thing on that would be blocking out your room entirely. So I don't think we mentioned that, but getting rid of all lights as much as you can. Make sure your blinds are sealed up so that you're just not getting light into the room. That actually really helped me. I used to have really bad
insomnia.
Yeah, basically insomnia. It was terrible. Dealt with that for a couple of years actually, and getting to a point where the room was completely black and then routine, and I don't know if I just kind of grew out of it or what, but it started to improve eventually, so that was nice. All right, back to the other one, active recovery. So active recovery basically would just mean activity that's kind of lower heart rate stuff, but you get good. I don't want to make it sound like it can't be challenging, because it definitely can be, but it's a lower impact, lower heart rate, and just not something that's going to beat you up. So a couple things that we could kind of lump in that category might be some type of kind of flow yoga class, soft tissue release, massage, anything that increases blood flow without accumulating decent amounts of fatigue. What do you got? What else you put in there? Walks.
Yeah, I was gonna say just low intensity stuff, but I think you nailed it.
Yeah, swimming. And again, you could make swimming really hard, but like a low intensity kind of easy swim would be really good. Biking, hiking, etc. So very important. It's definitely been proven that getting out the day after, intense exercise and moving and increasing blood flow and all that helps recovery. So if you felt like, you're just too tired, too sore from the day before, you're always better off getting out and doing something than sitting on the couch eating Doritos.
Yep. Which Doritos don't have the next element that helps improve your recovery, and that's protein.
Very true. Building blocks for the body. I heard a great analogy of protein, and that's exactly what it was, is that it's just building blocks for the body. So if you got the correct or real close to the correct amount of protein for you, kind of in a daily amount, you're going to be setting yourself up in a really good position to maintain and build lean muscle mass and not get it cannibalized for fuel. And I think, there's good amount of data showing that having a post-workout protein shake can be advantageous
to your recovery. Because it's a whey protein is already broken down, so it's easier for your body to break down and more rapidly absorbed.
Yeah, and you're pretty primed right after a workout to get all of that stuff moving into the correct spots, right, to help recover. Along with potentially getting that shaken would just be making sure that you're getting a total amount per day that is kind of correct for you, your current activity levels, and your
body weight.
Well, yeah, your body weight, but more importantly, like the body weight that you would like to be at. So it's pretty easy to set a good goal for that. It's 0.5 per pound of body weight on the low side. That would be a pretty low amount of protein for an individual per day. And then kind of the go-to for us is 1 gram per pound of body weight. Or you could use 1 gram per pound of lean body weight, which is a little bit harder to calculate. But they can be fairly close. So I'm 217. I try and eat anywhere from 200 to 220 grams of protein a day. That's kind of my window. If I'm over 200, I'm cool. I'm not looking to get any bigger, so I try not to go really over 220. Mm-hmm. What about for you?
Well, I'm 160, and I try and eat. When I've tracked it, protein is hard. It's hard. A lot of people think you have no idea. The fat and the carbs meter tends to go a lot faster than the protein meter. I would say my goal is 150. Usually I probably average over 135. I might be overvaluing myself.
You're not worried about getting too jacked if you eat 150 grams a day?
Absolutely not. And I lift weights. That could be a podcast within itself.
Yeah.
We'll save that one for a later one. But yeah. Nope.
Yeah. Just a teaser.
Teaser to
you can't get bigger just by looking at the weights.
Yeah. The other benefit to eating more protein is it makes you feel full.
Yeah, it's very satiating.
Yep. But yeah, it just helps the body increase protein synthesis for muscle recovery.
Yeah, you hold on to your lean muscle mass, which is super important, especially all of us old timers getting old. We want to maintain lean muscle mass as we age. It's very important for longevity, for decreasing risk of injury, for keeping bone density up, keeping everything going and strong. Mm-hmm. So protein's very important. As far as getting it for us, there's definitely ways you can do it. If you are plant-based, it's harder to do because a lot of the plant-based proteins come with added things, which would be carbs and fats. And so it's really easy to skyrocket those two macros while just chasing that protein goal. People just do read it, the label. But yeah, you just got to be a little bit more creative potentially. If you're not plant-based, it's much easier. I do use whey protein. I do probably 1 shake a day, roughly. I don't necessarily do it with water. I actually mix my whey protein with yogurt for 2 kind of reasons. One is it's more satiating. The other is...
it as a meal.
Yeah, I use it as a meal, and I feel like a meal.
We're having a hard time.
Interesting. I feel like I get more out of it, whereas I feel a little fuller when I mix it with yogurt. If I do it with water, it's great, and it's super fast, but I'm just as hungry as I was right before I had it.
Yeah.
So, protein's great. There are better proteins and less great proteins, so make sure to kind of read what goes into it. And yeah, I think that's about it for protein. You got anything else on that one?
Mm-mm.
Okay, next one on the list for us would be hydration. So making sure to stay hydrated with water.
Yep. One statistic was drink your body weight in ounces of water, or a good goal, not a statistic.
I think it's half your body weight, right?
Yeah, I said that, and then I was like, I feel like that's a lot.
Yeah, that's a whole bunch of water.
Revoke that.
So half your body weight in ounces of water.
Yeah.
Very important. We are made up of 55 to 60% water. We need it to move everything around in our body. We need it to clear waste products from intense exercise. We need it to process and do all the things that our body does.
Mm-hmm. When it gets enough sleep.
Yep. So water, very important. Also, you can drink too much water.
True. I think we need our Google fact checker, but it's called hyponatremia. Is the technical term.
Hypo something.
Hyponatremia.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you can overdo it. So, I mean, I would say probably 90% of the population is not overdoing it in water. And, honestly, the easiest gauge, I'm going to talk about pee now, is your urine. Color. Or feel. So, side note, I had once asked a medical provider how to tell if you are hydrated out in the wilderness, because if you ride dirt bikes or do any sort of outdoor activities, you often take a pee in the woods. And so when you're peeing in the woods, you don't really see if your pee is super dark yellow or if you're hydrated. You can't tell. You can't use the hydration chart scale.
Some of us can, though.
I don't know
I'm just saying.
Meaning by that. But that person told me to go off of how it felt temperature-wise, which, there you go. Little tip. Hotter pee equals less hydrated. According to Dayne.
Yeah, I know. I'm just trying to wrap my head around how...
You don't need to wrap it.
Exactly. You're supposed to...
It could be a male-female thing.
Yeah.
But that was a great tip provided to me at one point. But don't...
Has it served you?
Well, honestly, if I'm being honest, I have paid attention. I'm like, I don't know. I guess if it's not too hot, we're good. Yeah. So give her a test and let me know how it goes. But anyways, honestly, peeing in a toilet with consistent water, I suppose, because that could be a variable as well.
Yeah, toilet bowl water height is important because if it's super low, you don't have very good concentration of water down there. It makes pee darker. If you got a lot of water to disperse it, then it's lighter color.
You pretty much know.
So I think watching streams, probably your best bet. And gauging off of that.
Anyways, stay hydrated, people.
Yeah. The one of the main concerns with overhydration is flushing out all the salts that are essential to you. So if potentially you are someone who loves to overhydrate, just make sure you're taking in some electrolytes and stuff like that. All right, last one is routine. How can having a routine help you recover better?
You take that one.
The way I would think of it is having a routine is going to help you identify when you're not recovering better.
Oh, yeah, good point.
So if you're really consistent with your activities, with your sleep, with your things throughout the week, then you can plug and play as necessary to figure out what works best for you.
I couldn't have said it better. I was just going to say it leads into all the other things, the active recovery, the sleep, the hydration, that all can kind of get lumped into that routine.
Yep. Yeah, I think, some people operate really well on routine. Some people are a little bit more scattered in that. But it's interesting, though, when you actually... So something I find fascinating is that people have different ways of coming about different things. What I mean by that is I was just listening to this guy who's a keto cyclist. So he does a keto diet, which is super high fat, real low carb, moderate protein, and he cycles like 500 kilometers a week. But he also has a very hectic schedule. And so usually when you'd assume you got somebody who's really dialed and cycling 500 kilometers a week at a fairly impressive wattage powers and all that stuff, he would have this lifestyle that's really dialed. But he has this crazy sleep schedule, crazy eating schedule. He does most of his rides fasted, 7-hour rides, completely fasted sometimes, and then he'll eat when he can, sleeps when he can, and does all this thing. And instead of having this perfectly laid out routine, he actually just has like week parameters that he wants to hit. So his goal is to cycle 500 kilometers. So if he can do it over 7 days, he's like, I got 7 smaller days of cycling. But if I go 3 days because of work and sleep and lifestyle and I can't even ride, I know that I have 4 or 3 major big days on the bike because my goal per the week is 500 kilometers. So what I'm getting at is you could ask that person, hey, do you have a weekly routine? And he'd be like, nope. But it is a routine. It's just, it's more of like a bird's eye view of, hey, these are the things that I have to get done by this point in time. And you just need to dig down into under the surface a little bit to figure that out. And then you could start to actually see, oh, he does have a routine. It's just, instead of being a daily routine, it's like a weekly routine or every 2-week routine. And so there's no wrong or right way to kind of approach it, I guess is what I'm getting at. And really thinking about that, because most of us have developed some kind of routine. It just might be a little bit harder to spot or take a little bit more thinking to kind of see what it looks like. And so that can be good because it can help you identify areas that you can improve upon. And yeah, then you can make it better.
Yeah. The one thing I was going to add, I think I lumped in this one, was, I think it fits into your In Homeboy's 500-kilometer ride situation. But, I normally like to work out every day. However, when we're riding in the summer, my non-negotiable is a rest day before we go riding, or active recovery day. So knowing that we're going to go riding on Saturday and Sunday, I'd try and take Friday off, either intentionally or unintentionally because it's a travel day, to where, my everyday workout maybe got changed.
Right.
Mm-hmm. So my non-negotiable is getting at least one rest day a week.
Right.
Yeah.
And before the weekend, or before we go on a ride, essentially. And usually that works out because we got to drive somewhere.
Mm-hmm. No, we don't have to. We just do.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah, so hopefully you've taken away a few tips to help you recover better. I think I might actually have one. And yeah.
Yeah, there's a great book on sleep by Dr. Matthew Walker. If you wanted to do a deeper dive on that, I can't remember the name of the book, but Google
Sleep Diplomat.
No. That's
Why We Sleep?
Twitter handle. Yeah, Why We Sleep. There it is. So, Why We Sleep, Dr. Matthew Walker. He's also been on a plethora of podcasts everywhere from Rogan to, I don't know, Lex Friedman, all those ones. So, really interesting stuff to listen to, and he definitely does a much better job describing the importance and
us two noobs.
And stuff like that. So, if you're into books and learning, that's a great one to go to.
Yeah. All right. Well, thanks for listening. If you've been enjoying the podcast, I guess give us a review.
Yeah.
If you have any questions or anything, you can always send us slide into our DMs, as they now say, on Instagram or Facebook.
Yep. Topics even that you would be interested in having us talk about or
anything.
Take a look at.
And then, check out our website, enduromethod.com, for more information on the Enduro Method program itself.
Correct. And if you are interested but on the fence, we do offer a 7-day free trial where you can sign up and check out a week's worth of current up-to-date programming and cancel before 7 days and costs nothing.
There you go. All right. Well, thanks for listening.
Thanks.